Hi guys, welcome back to another P3D version 5 video. We are today flying something a bit different. We're flying a military aircraft and specifically the A2A Boeing B-17 Flying Fortress. And I've been wanting to do a video with this one for a while, but never could decide on what to fly. So I decided to do this short video where we're going to be flying from. Let me actually check now. Is it Markham? Let me see. RAF. Totally blanking. It's Marham. I think Marham. Not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly. But we're flying from there up to Coningsby. I think it's supposed to be pronounced. And for Marham, we actually have some nice freeware scenery from Just Flight that I was able to get matching with the True Earth. So it's a bit nicer than just the default True Earth one. But for Coningsby, we're gonna have the default True Earth airport one. There was a Just Flight one that was for free, but I couldn't get it to work, and the parts that I could get to work looked worse than the True Earth one, so that's why we're doing that. I was a bit thinking if I was gonna fly down to Bent Waters or Woodbridge, but because there I also have this freeware scenery, but then I decided that the weather was pretty shit there, and I think there's an ILS at Coningsby, so let's let's go safe before sorry. And it's a very short flight. I mean, we're talking about 70 kilometers. I mean, it's not gonna take long. So I thought it would be a perfect flight to just show this one. I did a bit of a longer flight personally offline, where I flew to Netherlands just to kind of see how it was to get up to cruise, and I've done some short flights before, and yeah, I mean it's an amazing aircraft. A2A just they do simulation of aircrafts really well, and I hope to add more of their aircrafts in the future. Would be nice if they had a bigger lineup. I guess that's my only complaint, but they have a pretty big one for general aviation, at least in P3D and some of these American fighter, and I think even the Spitfire, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, as you can see, this is I'm pretty sure it's a non-PBR model. I haven't added PBR. I don't want to tinker with that since it's a P3D version 5 native model. So if it's working, maybe we can leave it as is. But I do think with PBR this could look even better. Potentially there is PBR, but it's just kind of less glossy PBR, which might be a good thing, to be honest. But yeah, as you can see, it's a very well modeled aircraft for P3D standards, and this is the yeah, I'm not even gonna try to pronounce that. I think, let me check which livery this is for those of you who want to know. Reshade. God. Well, it was delivered on the 4th of October 1943, and I guess it was at Harvard Air Force Base, and it was one of only 3 original aircraft of the 447 to survive the war. Okay, that's pretty interesting. Flew back to the US and sold to the Reclamation Finance Corporation for scrap. Well, that's a that's a shame, but oh well. But yeah, enough talking. Let's jump in and have a look. And I'm gonna actually check my outside viewpoints if I need to tweak that with the camera. I don't like these transition ones, so we're gonna remove those. I would need to move a bit this one so it works with my 3-screen setup. This one works, this one works, this one doesn't work unfortunately, so we'll move it like that. Now it works. This one works, this one works. A lot of these different angles, quite a bit actually. This one works. This one works. this one doesn't, but now it works. Yeah, quite a bit. And let me just go through them all, make sure I have all the transitions away. Yeah, that looks to be the case. We can use this one for now as our kind of exterior viewpoint. But let's jump inside. As you can see, it has been raining. It's not raining anymore, so it does have the rain effect. Not the best ones, but pretty decent. The A2A ones. You can open the you can open the windows. Not sure if that's gonna make a difference for you guys, but I raised my own volume. But yeah, they have some sound effects. You can do it on the right one as well. In terms of viewpoints on the interior, I think they're all here in the cockpit. You're basically not gonna be able to see the gunners. I think potentially maybe from this viewpoint, from the exterior viewpoint, right? You can go in and have a look at kind of this low res model, right? So that's a bit of a shame. I'm gonna show some other bombers, hopefully in the coming weeks, that have a bit more modeled. But yeah, this it's lacking in that department, but it's not really the most important thing to be honest. But yeah, in terms of the cockpit, it's a really great. Let me see. It's a bit weird there. Let's use that zoom level. But in terms of the cockpit itself, it's pretty nice. Let's see if we can see. Okay, that one is closed here. But yeah, it you know, you have the radios up here. Basically, a lot of the things are modeled properly. It's a high fidelity aircraft, like the Constellation. Compared, for example, the PMDG, maybe even more high level, right, than the DC6 from PMDG. And the reason why I bring that one up is because this one reminds me a bit of that in terms of, you know, being from kind of the same area or era. We have the oxygen here, for example. You press here to get it on the mask. So if you go above 10,000 feet, we're not going to be going that high today, so we'll ignore that. We'll press Shift 7. We'll overhaul everything, make sure everything is in tip-top shape. We are not gonna need this much fuel. I think we'll make it with a light load. So let's go with that. And you even have some fuel transfer pump switches here. I think this is if you have additional tanks, wingtip Tokyo fuel tanks. I'm gonna assume that's what it's there for. You can even change the fuel and oil type, but I'm not gonna go into that. Otherwise, you have the same menus as always. Controls and the crew report. I'm gonna keep them here so you guys can see as well kind of what I'm doing. You can see here their warning cabin is cool. But yeah, that's about it. I think the plan is to then get going with the startup, and then on our way to Koningsby, we're going to be traveling with I think around 5,000 feet, maybe even lower than that, on a course of 315. So let me write that down for myself just so I remember. That's a kind of direct course. 315. And according to the nav map, because we're not going to be using any radios or similar, it's a 37 nautical mile journey, which, let's say we fly at around 150 knots. Should take about 15 minutes, give or take. But that's, yeah, let's see how fast we might be able to go much faster, since we won't be that heavy. In terms of where I want to land, I would prefer to do the ILS landing to runway 25. They have a lot of tack on. Let me see, do they have an ILS, tuck, ILS DME runway? Here we go. So the ILS is 1-1-15. Not sure if it's gonna work. And then with a 2-5-3 course, and that's a runway. Sorry, runway 25. Yeah, just writing it down for myself on my nice little whiteboard. I now also have a huge chalkboard that I use for my planning, but I haven't been putting stuff on that one, since that would mean walking away from my headphones. But yeah, I think that's it. Let's see if we can see actually here what they do have. Do we know they have X-plane frequencies? Do we know anything about their? Let's do it this way. I'm gonna close this because we don't need it. And what I'll do, well, you know, famous last words, we won't need it, but then we actually will need it. Hopefully not though. So that's not that. I think this is the one. Königsby. Yeah, we have an ILS. Look at that. That's the reason why you check these things, because we wouldn't have been able to pick it up. So it's 255 actually, so we would have been going a bit wrong if we are a bit kind of off the course. So 1110 700. Okay, so now we have the updated data for our sim. This is something I always recommend doing if you're uncertain, right? Double check the sim. It's very cold, so we'll bring this up, the cockpit ventilation. You can see why we can't really see anything. It doesn't show on the outside though, so that's a bit of a negative, I guess. But yeah, apart from that, it's pretty nice. And actually, let me see. I think little nav map. I'm just gonna open it one last time. Then hopefully we can keep it closed, unless we get into real trouble and I get lost. But we do have this one, right? This Takan one, and that's a 1110 or 11110. So let's see actually if there's a DME here, right? Yeah, that's the one. So we're not going to be able to see kind of the localizer and stuff, but we'll be able to see how much longer we have till we get there. So I'm just going to put that one down actually, just so we remember. Takan DME. But yeah, that's about it, I would say. We have the beacon. Let me check here. Navigational lights are on. What's considered the beacon light? Is it these one? Recognition lights. Let's turn these on anyway. These are all on, both. Cowl flaps we should turn on. These are correctly set. Props are full. And we want to turn on the booster, or actually we want to turn on the batteries. That's gonna get the booster pumps going, and also make sure that we actually get the lights here turned on. And actually, considering how short the journey is, we might not even need to go up that high at all, because you know we don't want to descend in a hurry. I think the gear should only be retracted at like 140. Same maybe with the flaps. Maybe the gear is even lower than that. But let's see. But yeah, I think that's the most important things. Pull to unlock. So the tail wheel lock is already off. So what we then do is we move over here, and we basically want to just start the engines, right? That's the key thing. We have these open. The magneto switches are all on both. The master ignition is on. We'll turn up the throttles a bit, maybe a bit too much. Let's do it something like that maybe. And the way I've done this at least is I usually prime them, and then I do the mesh and then start. At least it has worked. Let me open actually some of these windows. Maybe that will help a bit with the ventilation. I really want to get rid of these. But let me check here what this cabin is called. Yeah, that doesn't help. Well, maybe once we get the engines running, it's gonna be fine. Okay, so let's prime once, prime twice, mesh, and then I usually do one extra for good luck. So we're waiting for that one. You can see here smoke coming. Are actually our cowl flaps open, or am I? They do look pretty damn close. Where do we open these? How can I have no clue about it? It's not the intercoolers, right? Wait, let me just quickly pause. I'm just gonna check what I'm missing. So 1 sec. And we are back. I think it might be because of hydraulics, right, for the cowl flaps. So let's check actually if we can do that. I think you wanna do like manual first. Yeah, you can see now the cowl flaps are coming online, which makes sense. So they're hydraulically controlled. And I usually use this manual until I get into the green band here. I'm not sure you need to go that far. And then I just put it on auto. I think maybe 200 might be enough. But yeah, now we have all of them open, so that's gonna help. Now we'll basically just do, and you can see like how fast it went with these. Well, of course it was paused, right? So maybe it took a bit longer, but it was actually pretty quick. Okay, we're gonna do number 4. I'm not sure I'm doing it the exact order you should do them. Maybe it's 3 you start with, but you know. I'm gonna do the exact same procedure since it seemed to work. Let's see. You can see the cowl flaps being opened here now. Come on, buddy. Look at that. Let's close the window. Or both of them actually. Let's do number 2. Prime it once. Prime it twice. Mesh. Start. It's very nice sound. That's also something you won't notice any difference in the video, but I bought myself these Logitech Zulu 906 surround sound, even though P3D doesn't have surround sound, but it's like the sound is so much better than my older Logitech kind of normal front speakers with a small kind of bass or bass. Yeah, bass, I guess it's called bass. But bass is a fish, right? Yeah, but the bass or the subwoofer, I guess that's what or yeah, that's the proper name. So it was much smaller. Now I have a much bigger one. The sounds are just much better. So if there's something you don't wanna save money on, it should be sounds. It's amazing, kind of, because you don't get too much other sensatory experiences from flight simming, but sounds is one of those. So don't go cheap. Even though I did go cheap, I mean the Logitech one is quite cheap. It's only about 200 USD. So it's not an expensive one. Maybe I should even go for a higher tech system, but yeah, I did ship out, right? So my own mistake in case they break, but I've heard good things about this. That one started quickly. Interesting how we can't see the... Oh, there's the effect. Okay. And now the thing is, you want to wait. So if we look at this one, so the cabin is warm. Maybe a bit too warm, right? So we can then bring down the ventilation to 55. And basically you want to avoid pivot turns, minimum 40% oil temp before takeoff, etc, etc. Avoid high power with low RPM. Okay, fine. And over 10,000 you want to have oxy on, and the air cleaner, which is this one, the filter, you want to turn that off. Electrics should all be on, hydraulics are set, we don't need to do anything there. I'm gonna put on the pitot. I'm not sure if you do it, or like if the real procedures are that you do it now, or if you wait for the takeoff run. We'll do it now. But I guess it's not unreasonable to imagine that you would wait. In terms of kind of our navigational system, I don't think we have actually a DME. I just realized. I didn't even think of that. So it's not like we're gonna be able to see what we're going for anyway, but I'm gonna put it in anyway here on the nav radio, which I actually have no clue where it's supposed to be located, because this one seems to be the receiver. This is ADF, right? But let me just put it in, and then we'll have it. It's probably not gonna show anywhere, but I actually do. I'll be able to see it on my hardware one, right? So maybe a bit of cheating in that regard. But let's see if I pick up the signal. Okay, so now we have a nice cabin temp. We're still waiting for all of these values to start coming on, specifically the oil temps. We want to see them within the green bands here. You can see the carb air temps here, cylinder heads, etc. And if you start, for example, these carb air ones, you have the intercooler flaps that you can use to cool them down. What I usually do, I'm not sure how correct it is, but I usually put these into neutral position. And I'm not sure, let me check on, shift 3. That doesn't seem to have any effect. Yeah, you can see you can close them here quite a bit. I'm actually gonna open them. I think I read, let me see here. Yeah, so you want to keep them open on the ground. Okay, that's something good to know. The funny part is I think when I've been flying, I've been keeping them open because I've been keeping them on neutral after having opened them fully. But I think we should soon be ready to go. We're now just kind of waiting for everything to warm up. And yeah, so the engines are warmed up. That's what we were waiting for. What we'll do now is get the flaps, and we'll have to use this one. I'm just gonna add a tad bit of flaps. I guess this is kind of, how to say, like there's no detent for the flaps. You kind of decide yourself where you want to stop. So we'll just add a bit of flaps. I think that should be sufficient. We have the lights on. We don't need the boost pumps now. Let's try to remember to put them on before we take off. We'll release the parking brakes. And I'm gonna start a left turn. Let's do a left turn. you can see that the tail wheel is loose, so we can turn pretty efficiently. It's a bit hard to get the hang of the thingamabob, but I basically with the FSU IPC done the controls, so I have engines 3 and 4 on my second lever, because I don't want to hook up 4 engine levers for the few times I fly a 4-engine aircraft. So that way I can use the differential thrust to turn the aircraft in the direction that I want. It's pretty handy. And we're gonna take off from now I'm totally blanking. From runway, do we know what number it is? Maybe we don't actually. Let me see if we have it here. It's runway 6, right? 06, yeah. And then landing on 25. But now let's close the map. Let's try not to use it. It's not wrong to use it, of course, but you know it's a bit of more of a challenge when you're not using it. Okay, so we're taxiing now. We now have kind of equal thrust. Gotta be a bit careful so you don't taxi too fast. But it taxis pretty nicely, this aircraft. It does pick up speed quite a bit, so we can even throttle down a tiny bit. And let's remember the landing lights. And I don't think there's anything else we need to... I'm just trying to think if I'm forgetting anything. No, we have all engines started. Do we need panel lights? Probably not. The weather looks pretty fine. There's a risk of lower overcasts. So let's see a bit. We don't have any weather radar or anything like that though, so nothing, no fancy equipment. We're just gonna have to go by feeling. And let's see if we pick up that DME with my hardware. Logitech radio panel. If we don't pick it up, then this will be a bit more difficult. I'll have to switch to the ILS one earlier and hopefully we can pick that DME at least with the Logitech one. Or at least start seeing it here. It's gonna be a bit difficult otherwise without any vectoring, right? But maybe if we can just get the air feel inside, we can kind of make our way and find a good route and then land. Okay, let's turn on the landing lights. You can see they are nicely simulated. Not sure if it's dynamic lights, but I would assume so. Let me see, what else do we need to set up? I think we are looking pretty good. We have the mixtures on auto rich. So we should be fine. This one taxis really nicely actually, I must say. I'm a big fan. Okay, let's try to use the differential thrust here to help us a bit. Try to get onto the middle of the runway best we can. Okay, and let's see. We can push a bit forward. Something like this might be good. And let me just lock the tail wheel, which you do here. Here you can also lock the rudder and elevators. Maybe not something you want to do. Why would you want to do that? Is that maybe for, you know, when you're parking, I would guess, so they don't move? Or I guess it doesn't have anything to do with well, I guess if you want to stay very stable up in the air, maybe that would have an effect, but I assume not, because it would then the aircraft wouldn't be kind of flexing with the wind and the other forces pushing on the aircraft. I think we are ready. Let me just double check here. Maybe we can put that on. Landing gear horn. Alarm bell. Yeah, maybe the landing gear horn makes sense. What about the formation lights? Yeah, we can maybe put those on. Here we have the emergency parking brake release. Okay, let's go. Okay, let's remember, we're doing a left turn. 315. So we're gonna start pushing up the thrust levers, the throttle levers. And we're gonna go basically max. And let's see if we can stay on the runway. Looking okay. Maybe we're turned a bit too much to the left. Let's see if we can point the nose down. Yeah, there we go. Because that's going to give us more rudder authority. So that's good. The sound might be a bit loud, so I'm sorry about that. Okay, and we should be able to take off now. So I'm going to start pulling back. And there you see it. There we go. And now I try to bring up my gear, but it doesn't work because the gear is kind of the same. You have to do it like that. And now it's gonna start coming up. And we're going pretty fast. I'm also gonna start bringing up the flaps. There's no point keeping them down. Yeah, let's close the windows. We can already start throttling back. There's no point in hurting our engines unnecessarily. We're pretty light today. So we want to keep around 36 manifold and then 2-3 on the RPMs. Something like this maybe. And then we'll have a look at the temps, right? And then see what we do with, for example, the coal flaps. Maybe we can close these a bit. Because I just want to see how it interacts, right? He'll let us know, our co-pilot, if we're doing something really off. So that's good at least. And now we're climbing pretty steadily. Pretty reasonable numbers. We can turn off the landing lights. This is how it sounds if you open the window, so it's pretty noisy. So we're just gonna try to turn, and I can see the DME now, so that's good. 37.4. We need to turn quite a bit actually. We're gonna have to overturn just so we can get back on the right kind of course. And let me get a new one, because I think this one looked much nicer. This view makes for a better thumbnail. If I would care about views, then I guess that would also be a factor why you would want a nicer looking thumbnail. But I'm not a big worrier about that. I don't make YouTube videos for views or monetary reasons. It's more to showcase you guys kind of different planes and how you can kind of fly them. Okay, let's bring those to the normal position. Let's continue turning, because we need to turn quite a bit. Can we see the airport that we left behind, or is it covered? No, it's back there, right? So yeah, we've already passed it. And here we have the autopilot. I'm not gonna be doing anything with that. Not sure how useful it was. Probably useful to a certain extent. Okay, let's see. We're gonna come up to 3,000 feet. I am wondering, we're now at 345. We don't want to go too high. We want the airport altitude is pretty low. 24 feet, and we want to be at 2,000 feet for the approach. I'm gonna start trimming this bird a bit, because there's really no need for us to push this too much. Because here on cruise we're gonna go down to 2,200 RPM, and we can keep auto ridge. I think that should be fine. We're not gonna go too high anyway, so. Trim slightly again, and I'm actually gonna start bringing down the prop. And let me see, what was the manifold? 34. So we're looking pretty good, I would say. We just need to turn a bit more to the left before we can start turning right, because it's 315. So we want to turn at 3 for a bit of time. And I'm not sure if we have any cores on this one, but I'm gonna put it in. Not sure actually. Let me see, 255. Let me see if there's any knob. I don't really know where the nav radio is located on this one. Okay, so 255 it was. .255, so at least we have that ready for the ILS. Okay, and now we're a bit below 3,000, but that's fine. It's only 29 nautical miles to go. I think it's looking okay. Let's have a look at the engine temps. They are going up a bit, so I'm actually wondering if it would be better to open the cowl flaps a bit. Yeah, that might do it, if I'm being honest. Okay, and we're turning now a bit. Look at this beauty though. And like this beautiful True Earth by Orbex, it's amazing photo reel. It just looks great. Okay, so we're about almost there where we wanna be at 3315. We have about 25 nautical miles to go. So my thinking is that we, at around 10, we're gonna switch to ILS. Once we have switched to the ILS, we'll try to get around 10 nautical miles out from the airport. I'm not sure if we wanna be flying, or if we wanna consider, I mean, because these are older aircrafts, right? So we don't wanna be descending as quickly as with some of the other ones, but we can, I guess, slow down a bit, right? That's the key thing that we have as an option, right? We can slow down quite a bit and then try to, you know, maybe if we deploy flaps and gear, that's gonna make us pretty, or that's gonna give a bit of drag. So that's potentially an option. But yeah, values are looking good. Maybe a bit here on the oil temps, and I think this one is definitely affected by the cowl flaps. I think the carb air, that's by the intercoolers, something along those lines. Okay, 20 nautical miles to go. Let's actually start descending a bit. There's no point in pushing this too much. Is there anything about descending? Nothing that I can see. Systems to watch. Engine 3 is at 177. And we're a bit cold, so we can raise the ventilation a bit. And this airport should be pretty close to where we're at now. Let's have a look at the speed. We're actually going pretty fast. We're still in the green, so that's fine. But I'm gonna throttle down a bit. Okay, let's see, we're coming down to 2000. Only 60 nautical miles to go, so still quite a bit. Yeah, let's maybe fly over the airport so we can visually localize it and then kind of use that as our... Or I guess you should always have the airport as your target, but maybe even more so now than relying on the nav aids. Okay, we're at 2000. So I'm gonna try to level off a bit. Let's see if we can get that speed to drop off. Okay, it should be about 14 nautical miles. The thing is, if we're a bit off, we won't be able to spot it, right? At least not directly. But I think we're flying, you know, maybe we could turn a bit... Actually, I want to turn a bit to the left, I think, to get... We might have been going a bit too much to the right, so the risk is that the airport is further that way than what we're planning or what we have envisioned in terms of our course. Mainly because I've been bad at at getting this bird to fly the way I want it to. One thing, you have this manifold pressure selector dial, which kind of increases it, so it's that's an interesting one. I played around with it a bit, but I'm not sure what... I need to read more about the system actually, and kind of what the idea is. But I guess it increased the manifold pressure. Doesn't seem to affect the RPM, so I'm not sure what the kind of interplay is there. But there's definitely some sort of interplay. Okay, 10.3. So we are getting closer still to the airport. Can't be long now though. There's supposed to be some water here at somewhere. And there's supposed to be some hills, so this looks like there's a bit more hills. The thing is, since this is gonna be a default Orbex airport, it might be hard to spot it. That's the big thing with why I kind of like flying with payware or, you know, freeware ones that are a bit more refined than what you get with, you know, a scenery package. Specifically with the True Earth ones, it's not as good as the regional ones, so that's something to keep in mind. Okay, we're a bit below 2000, but maybe that's fine. What we'll do actually now is change to 1110 700. Let's see if we're picking anything up here. Sorry if I changed. No, it's the right one. Why am I not picking it up? 2.6, 2.5. Have we totally lost our track? 198, 196. Are we tracking something different? I thought we would have already kind of made it to the airport. Maybe it's time to use our little tool, little nav map. That's gonna tell us if we're on track or not. Yeah, look at that. Now that's actually quite interesting. So we have kind of totally missed it. I knew I went too far. I should have turned much more, yeah. Well, part of the fun, I guess. Okay, let's see now. We're gonna turn. Gonna kick in some rudders so we turn nicely. Okay, and let's see. I mean, good in the sense that if we wanted to get on the localizer, right? Maybe now we have a chance. Bad in the sense that, of course, it would have been better if we just did this correctly from the get-go. I should have, of course, checked the map a bit better. There we can see the runway. So I think actually what we need to do is already start thinking a bit about the landing. I'm gonna start bringing down the thrust quite a bit now. And let's see if this is enough to start soon. Lowering stuff. Do we want to keep the cowl flaps completely open? Maybe it's best to keep them open. We're a bit low. There's our runway. What I think we'll want to do is turn a bit outwards before we turn inwards again. We want to make sure we don't drop in altitude. We can actually climb a bit. That's going to be a good way to lose some speed. Yeah, there's our runway. Could we make it maybe from this? Let's see if we can drop our flaps. Now let's try to get this bird to turn. Yeah, we're gonna need a bit of trust. Come on, buddy. Good. I'm actually not sure about the speed that you wanna land with, actually. Let's see if we start picking up the localizer here, or if we get into any trouble. We did forget the booster pumps, I just recalled, for the takeoff, so we're gonna put them on now. Okay, let's see if we start picking up any sort of signal as we turn in here. Yeah. Bit interesting though how we haven't picked up anything just yet, at least. Could be that I've set it up in a bad way, of course. Not impossible. I have in some cases managed to do it wrong. Okay, and let's see if we can see the runway. Yeah, we can see it. Weird though. Maybe I forgot to turn it on, right? Maybe that's the thing. Maybe there's like a specific button for that. Maybe I have it on ADF or something. Okay, and let's see now if we can. We seem to have, or we seem to need to kick in a bit of right rudder. Okay, let's see if we can get this bird down. I always find it a bit hard with these tail wheel planes to land. Okay, let's try to get the back down so we can start braking. Yeah, look at that. Not sure if you need all the full flaps with this one. Maybe not. Yeah, we can turn off the boosters. I think that should do the trick. Yeah. Look at that. And do we have this one? Now we can unlock it. Good. So we managed to land. Like I said, this was just a kind of A to B flight. No, we can call it a repositioning flight. Didn't go that well either with my with my navigation, but luckily we have the little nav map to save us when we feel like something is going wrong. The thing you always need to remember is that, you know, even if you go off a bit, it becomes like a huge navigational error at the end of the day, right? So better to be safe than sorry. Yeah, always try to overcorrect if it's gone wrong. We'll park maybe here. As you can see, it's pretty good for being just default true Earth. It's a military airfield. It's not as nice as the what's it called? Marham, I think it was, right? That one is a bit nicer. RAF Marham. The interesting part about the other options that I was thinking, Bent Waters and Wood Bridge, I think those are closed now, or not closed, but they're no longer in kind of RAF's control. I think the military might have Woodbridge, something along those lines. And, unless I'm mistaken. Can we turn? Maybe we're supposed to turn here. Let's turn here. As you can see, no lines and stuff, so yeah, it's very simplistic with these default kind of airports. Or that's not, I wouldn't say this is default, let's call it default plus airport, since we have the Orbex scenery. Okay, and we're gonna turn here. Smooth. Bit of stuttering, but not too bad. We also forgot to use the landing lights. Bit of a bummer, but not the end of the world. Mainly what I wanted to show with this one is that this is quite a fun aircraft to fly. You have things that you need to check. You have things that you can do, and you know, you can kind of come up with your own scenarios. Maybe you'd want to do some AI flight plans and fly in a formation, you know, over Europe and follow that formation. And you know, I guess you can drop bombs. I haven't tested that actually. I know you can with some of the other ones, like the Airplane Heaven Henkel 111. But I assume you can do the same with this bird. I have a hard time seeing that wouldn't be the case. Okay, and let's see if we can turn this fat lord. Come on. Come on, you flying fortress. Work with me. Here at least we have the yellow lines, so that's nice. That's nice. Here also we have some weird Not sure how this has been kind of set up. I mean, like I said, default one, right? So they probably didn't pay too much attention when they added some of the buildings here. They maybe update a bit the AFCAD. That's kind of what they would do. With the regionals, they do a bit more. At least what I've seen. Oh, we don't want to look at that. If you brake too quickly, you'll maybe even tail strike. Okay, we're just gonna turn here. And then we'll park the best we can on this one. I think that's gonna be fine. Something along these lines. Okay, let's see. Yeah, let's do that. And actually, in terms of shutting this bird, I don't have. I think it's just doing this. But maybe that will break something, right? So I'm not sure if you just want to cut it like that, but that's what we did. So yeah, short and sweet. Let me check actually before I check the replay if there's anything. Let me see ILS if they have anything about that. Instrumental landing, nothing about that. Nav radio, let me see, navigation radio, maybe they call it. No, nothing about that either. 2D panel, they have autopilot. Radios, that's shift 6. Now those were correctly set. Ah! Look at that. That might have been my mistake. Maybe you need to select it, right? The question is, do you need to, can you do it also? Because I do like to do that in the virtual cockpit. But okay, so maybe that could have been the issue. And let me see, they are talking about it on 127 page. The command receiver which controls heading is located on the signal panel is not functional due to an unsupported frequency ranges in flight simulator. Select a radio navigation source for radio compass. The pilots directly operate ADF2 radio unit only. They can also remotely select the transmitter to communicate. The rest of the radios are controlled by other crew members. So maybe I hadn't done it properly. I'm trying to think, could it have been some of these ones? Now this is the interphones. But yeah, so something to keep in mind if you want to get this working. I need to check that a bit. At the end of the day, it didn't seem to have hurt us too badly, since we were able to just do a visual approach and land, but oh well. And let me just show you the replay then. We might have to go back a bit further. This is the sucky part though, is that you're gonna have the replay function doesn't really work with the A2A aircrafts. The engines are gonna take damage, etc. It's basically all these bad things. But just remember to kind of repair them after you've done a replay. That's kind of my solution to it. But yeah, look at this beauty. It's a very beautiful aircraft. I can highly recommend that Apple TV series about, I mean, maybe not the most realistic one, I'm not sure, but you know, it does seem to at least have, you know, quite a, or to an extent at least, realistic. I think always with the Hollywood kind of stuff, you have to take it with a grain of salt. But I think it was pretty good. It could have been a lot worse. Oh yeah, here you can see kind of how we have to point our nose. And then I do kick in a bit of rudder, but maybe I didn't kick it in enough. Let's see. The co-pilot was pretty happy though with the landing. Yeah, here I kick it in. Oh, it's almost enough. Just a bit more, and it would have been a perfect landing. Look, so we're skidding a bit. I need to keep on using the rudder. Luckily we, or maybe it's not as bad as it looks here, but yeah. Oh, I guess because I have parking brakes, so that's why it might be showing all these puffs. But yeah. So it was okay. Maybe I just should have controlled it a bit better at the end of the day. Let me just do the complete overhaul so I don't forget it myself. But yeah, that was it. Just wanted to showcase the A2A B-17, the Boeing, and hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them down below. I'm hoping to do some other bombers. Vulcan, for example, that's a jet one. But that's gonna come, I think, in the future. The autopilot is a bit wonky on that one, but at least I'm gonna do the airplane heaven one, the Henkel, and then I'm gonna do the freeware Fokker T5. So I think those are kind of on the high on the list, and and maybe the Canberra as well. So there's a few different ones. I'm gonna check if there's any other freeware ones that's worth showing. I think they had some light bombers, Milton Shoop, that looked pretty decent, but not sure if it's worth. I mean, if you're really interested into a specific aircraft, maybe you're okay with a bit less fancy cockpit, but it's hard to then fly that when you have, like, for example, the A2A, or even something a bit less high fidelity, like the airplane heaven, but which still looks pretty good and is pretty decent simulation, at least for some of the aircrafts, at least. But yeah, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them down below. And otherwise, thank you for watching and have a good rest of the day. Bye bye.